going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome back. It's been a minute. I had some stuff I had to do this week that I was not able to have my computer to upload. And instead of doing it on my phone where the audio would have been terrible, I just went ahead and took the week off since there wasn't much going on. Besides the NBA free agency recap that we could have done at any time. So we're going to do it today. This is your Sports Digest. I'm your host, Alex McNinch, back at it with another episode. I had some personal things I had to take care of in my life on during this week. So I was not able to bring my computer with me where I had to go. It was a immediate turnaround. Had to go to the location I was at. Was not able to bring my stuff, and instead of, like I said, just recording on my phone and you having the terrible AirPod quality that I would have had, I'll give you guys normal mic quality and waited until I came back, kind of refresh, new ideas, and a lot of stuff to talk about. And it's kind of better that I ended up waiting because more stuff ended up happening that we can talk about throughout all sports. Obviously, the main part is the NBA free agency, NBA Summer League starting up here just a couple days ago. MLB draft is currently about to happen at the time of recording. We are at the end of the first break or the end of the first half, All-Star break time in the MLB. NFL is in their dead period. Same with college football, but that's just around the corner, so that's stuff to get excited for. It's a fun time in sports. If you are fans of either basketball or baseball, and if you don't really care about those sports, well, it's a tough time right now, but you'll hopefully enjoy some of the stuff I get to talk about here today. We're just going to quickly go over a lot of the stuff in the NBA because there is so much to talk about. Free agency, trades, sign-in trades, whatever it could be. There's just some stuff to talk about. Let's just go over some of the stuff here going into the NBA, starting with free agency and all this stuff right after a word from our sponsor. All right, diving into free agency. I mean, a lot of the free agency bulk was players re-signing to teams. Kyrie, Chris Middleton, Vucevic, Draymond, Brook Lopez, the main top guys that were unrestricted, all pretty much re-signed. Obviously, restricted free agents all ended up returning to their original teams and signing extensions. We'll talk about a couple of the guys that ended up changing teams and maybe having a directory. As of now, there's no word on James Harden on what he's going to end up doing. He opted into his player option. But we do not know where he is going to be traded to. A couple of guys we can go over that are on a new team, and it's Bruce Brown is the top guy we need to talk about because we're talking about a guy who everybody expected to get around the mid-level or just above the mid-level exception. Ended up getting $22.5 million a year on a 2-year, $45 million contract to sign with the Indiana Pacers. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for Bruce Brown. That's a little bit of an overpay. Obviously, Indiana is at this point where they are stuck in between rebuilding and making a playoff push, so they're kind of in the play-in. So with the money to spend, why not spend it on a guy like Bruce Brown? There's a team option into the second year at $22 million. So if they are, not satisfied with the play that they got, they can decline the team option, end up moving him or letting him go to free agency again, all that stuff. So Bruce Brown going to Indiana was one of the first parts of free agency that happened. Big one here in my world, Dylan Brooks signs a 4-year, now come out as $86 million contract that can get up to $90 million with incentives to join the Houston Rockets alongside Fred VanVleet, who is probably the top free agent to sign with a new team, who came in on a 3-year, $130 million contract with the Rockets. And we've talked about the Rockets having a lot of cap space. They're going to make some moves. Boy, did they make some moves. They spent all of their money to get guys. As I'm watching the Houston Rockets Summer League game right now, Dylan Brooks literally just walked into the arena and they are showing him on the screen, so it's kind of funny that I'm talking about him. But Dillon signing that massive contract, turning into a sign-and trade that ultimately directed Ty Washington, Usman Garuba, Rudy Gay, and other draft capital to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Patty Mills ended up as an Atlanta Hawk. Dylan Brooks obviously is the Houston Rocket, and as of right now, Josh Christopher from the Houston Rockets, which if you were paying attention to some stuff in the NBA over the weekend, I don't want to get into it, but you would know Josh Christopher is in some stuff right now. But right now, he's a member of the Memphis Grizzlies, officially a part of the trade. Whether he gets moved or not, I do not know. I'm not sure. I would lean towards the idea that he won't be here as long, but if he is, great young combo guard to bring in, electric scorer, defensively got some work, but he's like 6'5", 6'6", as a guard that can play off the ball and can knock down some shots from you. Played really well in the G League last year. But for Dillon to get that much money, I know there was the report saying that he wanted around $20 million a year, and I was like, yeah, there's no shot that this is happening. And I guess he knew Houston was willing to pay a lot of money. And if you're the Grizzlies, I am so glad that we did not bring him back on that amount. But the cool thing about this trade, or the sign-in trade here with Dillon, is that we ended up getting a player exception, a TPE, a trade player exception. Basically, if you don't know what that means, if a team is under the salary cap when working a sign-in trade, you are allowed to send a player to another team basically in a return for a certain amount of money that you can use. So, for the example here with Dillon, signed him to the 4-year, $86 million contract. The Grizzlies signed him to that, then traded his rights to the Houston Rockets, and the Houston Rockets sent us back Josh Christopher, and then a $20 million, or around the $20 million trade player exception. Now, that allows us to trade a 1-for-1. So say we wanted to trade a low-contract player for a guy who is around $19 million to $20 million. We can do that. Because of this player exception, we are allowed to do that whether we are under or over the salary cap. So that means Memphis has a good chance to make another move here, big splash in the offseason. They still need that big scoring wing. I think they like the team that it is right now. We'll get to them a little bit more with another signing in a minute, but I think they like the team they got right now. I don't know if they use it or not. I don't doubt that they're trying to. I can guarantee you that there is at least an attempt to make another move. So that's all good there. Congratulations to Dillon to get that kind of money. At the end of the day, he was a Grizzly. He was one of the last pieces from the Mike Conley and Marc Gasol era. He was really nice to me. I met him when I was younger. Met him in Oregon right after he got drafted to us. Took a picture with me and everything. Such a good dude off the court. Obviously, his on-court antics, questionable at times, but there's no doubting the impact that he had to the locker room and to some of the players that have been throughout his career. And it's one of the funny things is Houston traded his draft rights to us on draft night. So for him to end up being a Rocket is kind of funny. It comes full circle. Max Strus signs a $63 million contract over 4 years with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cavs looking to get some more shooting around Mitchell and Garland. They went ahead and did that. They ended up getting Georges Niang as well from the 76ers. They signed him to, I believe, a 1-year deal. Might have been a 2-year deal. Let's see. Oh, it was a 3-year deal, $26 million. I'm sorry. Yeah, 3 years, $26 million. That's a wild signing for them, but they ended up shipping off Cedi Osman to the Spurs, and I think they got Damian Jones in return as well from the Jazz. So they're starting to build up this team a little bit. They re-signed Karis LeVert. Cleveland's trying to build this scoring unit around because Okoro last year was not the best scorer. Obviously, his defensive impact is improving. That was kind of the idea of getting him originally in the draft. But now with Mitchell and Garland, if they're having an off night, you need to surround them with these guys that can be effective. And Strus during the playoffs has proven to be effective at times. So that's a good get there for Cleveland. The money, I don't know, but it's a good get. The Lakers went ahead and went bargain hunting, got a couple of guys. Taurean Prince signs a 2-year deal, I believe, it was a 1-year, $4.5 million deal with the Lakers. Jackson Hayes, 2-year deal with a player option. Cam Reddish, a 2-year deal. And then the big one with their middle-level exception, Gabe Vincent, 3 years, $33 million. Very impactful player for that Miami Heat. Bringing him in, letting Schroeder go. He ends up going to the Toronto Raptors on a 2-year deal. The Lakers are making their moves. They brought back Rui Hachimura, 3-year, $51 million. That's a lot of money for him. But to secure a guy and what you saw during the playoff run, if you're going to get that kind of guy, I guess the money is going to be worth it. They bring back D'Angelo Russell on 2 years, $37 million. That's okay. And then the big one, they bring back Austin Reeves on 4 years, $56 million. That is a steal comparison to what everybody is saying. I think that's good. I think that's around this value that he should be. But the $100 million stuff that you were hearing about him was ridiculous. So the Lakers making moves this offseason. They're bringing in guys at a bargain bin amount and just hoping that they end up turning into something. Both of those guys in Hayes and Reddish, top 10 picks back in the 2019 NBA draft. So maybe they end up panning out. Maybe they don't. It's a shot in the dark opportunity there for LA and a team where you just need guys around you that can be good role players. Some of the other moves that happened that brought players to new teams. Javon Carter, 3 years, $20 million to the Chicago Bulls, former Memphis Grizzly. Happy for him. Don't know what the direction Chicago is doing, but they brought him in. Thomas Bryant goes to Miami. The Phoenix Suns are bringing in a bench unit of a lifetime right now, bringing in Yuta Watanabe, former Memphis Grizzly and Brooklyn Net, great three-point shooter. Josh Okogie re-signs there. Damian Lee re-signs there. Eric Gordon on a 1-year veteran minimum coming in and doing that with the Suns. And then it just came out, I think, yesterday that Bol is going to sign with them too. So they're starting to shore up that defense, that bench unit a little bit. And obviously with the star power you have on your team, getting rid of Chris Paul, bringing in Bradley Beal, keeping DeAndre Ayton, it looks like, you got to shore up that bench. And sure, some of these guys are a little bit older. Some of these guys are questionable players. But the goal is to bring guys in that are better than the bench you had last year. And that's not hard because they had a bunch of me running out there. And trust me, if you've seen me play basketball recently, it was a rough go. So moving on to the other teams that maybe made some move. Joe Ingles went to Orlando on a 2-year, $22 million deal. That probably is the most random signing of free agency. Jock Landale gets paid a little bit, $32 million over 4 years to go to the Houston Rockets. Another great backup big, got paid for his play in the playoffs with the Phoenix Suns. Makes the move over there. Houston also brings in Jeff Green, a veteran presence in the locker room, for 1 year, $6 million. And then we'll finish off with this one because this one affects me and my team the most. And that's the Memphis Grizzlies bringing in Derrick Rose on a 2-year, $6.5 million deal, fully guaranteed. That is the veteran minimum for a player of his league tenure. And man, oh man, I'm super pumped. Whether Derrick Rose plays a game or not for the Grizzlies, the goal of bringing Derrick Rose in is to have an impact off the court. And even on the court, I guess, more so off the court. Everybody knows Derrick Rose has been through some stuff off the court. He's been through some stuff on the court as well, with injuries and stuff. So it can help these younger guys who, with a team that is all in the lower 20s, mid-20-year-old kids that grew up watching Derrick Rose, idolizing Derrick Rose, now gets him on his team. I know Desmond Bane is super excited to have him on the team and thinks he's going to be a great mentor for a lot of these guys. Just having his presence in the locker room itself and being able to share the court with him on the same team is what he's looking forward to the most. I know that for sure. Just obviously everybody knows what Ja has gone through the past year. Zach Kleiman, the general manager of the Memphis Grizzlies, really talking about bringing in vets, and what better vet than Derrick Rose to bring in, because, I mean, it's just a real thing. Obviously, if you don't know, Derrick Rose went to the University of Memphis. Everybody loves him here. And this is a good signing in two ways, and I talked about it on the court and within the locker room, how it's a great signing. But the big thing is here at number 2 is for fan engagement. And if you know anything about small market teams, it's hard for some of these small markets to keep fans invested, especially if your team is questionable with the Ja stuff. How many fans are going to be like, oh, I don't want to be associated with all this. I don't want to root for this. If you're from Memphis, if you've been there or lived there at some point, you know that there are a lot of people that live there that boycott the Grizzlies, hate the Grizzlies for some reason because everybody in the hometown loves them. So you want to be special and different and hate them. I get it. It's a thing. I understand it completely. But for these guys who may not be Grizzly fans or the biggest Grizzly fans and are Memphis Tiger fans, because there are a lot of people who are just Memphis Tiger basketball fans and may not really care about, the NBA or the Grizzlies too much. But seeing Derrick Rose come and sign back in this city and play for the team again, just seeing Rose 23 with Memphis across the chest is going to put people in seats no matter what. Like, literally, if he doesn't play a game at all, which I can guarantee you he will play a game for us, you'll see him on the court. But even if he doesn't play a single game for us, the impact he's going to have outside of the game of basketball for the players and for fans even having him there, it's just a surreal thing. Obviously not expecting him to be the Derrick Rose of 2008 or 2009 and 10 and all those years. But if he can give us 6-7 minutes off the bench to give some guys a rest, maybe 10 minutes even, and when he doesn't play, just to guide the court, help guys out on the bench, showing them the way, like, it's such a cool thing, and I'm so happy that a guy like him is there. I get there's some people who are like, oh, why are we wasting a roster spot with Derrick Rose? He's not going to play for us. That's not the idea, because the same people that are complaining about that are the same people that are complaining about we have too many young guys on the team. And so you can't ever have a happy medium here with people in complaining this stuff. But as a diehard Grizzly fan, I know that the players are super happy, coaches are super happy, and the fans, especially that are true Grizzly fans, are super happy to see him back here and back on his feet again. And it seems like he's been trying to get here for the past couple of years now and mentor Ja. So I'm glad that he's able to come full circle kind of on his career and end up back here. Whether this is it for him or not, it's a really cool thing to see happen. But that's kind of it for free agency, sign-in trades. I guess, Grant Williams would be the only other sign-in trade we can talk about. That's a good pickup for the Mavericks. But outside of that, I mean, there's not real big movement. We're in the middle of the summer league, which means GMs are all together at once. Coaches are all together at once. We could talk, have these meetings. Because one of the big things to go with this trade period that we're about to see open up a little bit here is Damian Lillard finally requested a trade out of Portland. His preferred destination is the Miami Heat, and it seems like his agent is very determined to get him to Miami, because he has told the Trailblazers and the other organizations who would want to try to trade for Damian that he will be very frustrated and they will be getting a very disgruntled star if he ends up going other places. Now, that is absolutely wild, because I get it. We've been wanting Dame to be successful and go to a new team for a while. But kind of you're forcing your way to one team is ridiculous. I always hated when other players did it. Like, I hated that fact that Kevin Durant was like, all right, trade me, and you're only trading me to Phoenix, because the Grizzlies reportedly offered the same amount of stuff as as Phoenix did, but he wanted to go to Phoenix. So I hate seeing that type of stuff happen because then you're now endorsing this super team idea. Dame, I mean, obviously if he goes to Miami, it's not a super team, but it's a great big three you're going to have with Dame, Jimmy, and Bam, assuming that is what ends up happening. Otherwise, Brooklyn, Boston, Utah, those are the other teams I could see him going to. Maybe Philadelphia in a Harden and Lillard swap, but that's a little bit more unlikely. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him because there are plenty of other players like James Harden, potentially Paul George maybe. OG Anunoby, it seems like there might be some traction there, although I don't know what the direction Toronto's going to want to go into. It's a whole other thing that go on during trades in this offseason. But again, this is where all the GMs meet with one another if they want to talk about this type of stuff here at Summer League. So let's just talk about some of the Summer League stuff as well. And I'm sure everybody watched it. And it was Victor Wembanyama's debut, I believe, on Friday night. They played the Charlotte Hornets. And I don't have his stat line pulled up, but everybody knows Wembanyama did not have the best game of all time. And there's a lot of people claiming online that, oh, he's a bust, or, oh, I told you so, or type of stuff. Like, it's one game. It's one game, all right? I get it. Wemby has been the hyped up guy, and you're sick of seeing him on TV and on social media, and I get it. It's kind of the Zion, the LeBron, the Lonzo, that type of stuff that has been happening over the past decade plus with players that are super hyped up. Wembanyama is the real deal. You saw some of the shots he took. He looked gassed. His season literally ended 3 weeks ago. His season ended like 2 or 3 days before the draft happened. So this is a quick turnaround for him. There was a rumor he wasn't even going to play in the Summer League. So the fact that he's playing is such an awesome thing to see, just to have him playing on U.S. soil here this early instead of taking some time off recovering. He understands, and he admitted to saying that it's a different game. He's got to adjust. It is a completely different game. That's why you see a lot of guys, these European guys, come over, and it's a big, big transition. Like, sure, Luka has been fantastic. He had a quick turnaround. Josh Giddey, same way, had a quick turnaround from the overseas game to the NBA. But then there are other guys that we have heard about and seen over the years that has played overseas, come over, and it's just like, oh, this guy sucks. He doesn't know how to play in this game. And it's a very big change. And especially for Wembanyama, who is, the size he is, how skinny he is for his size. Not as bad as Chet. We'll get into him in a minute. But for his size and, not really being able to practice with a team much, I mean, I expect it. I feel like I'm one of the only guys that went into that game just wanting to see him play on the court, whether he was good or bad. I didn't really expect much of him from game one. It seems like everybody else was really honed in on him having like 25 and 15 with 7 blocks in his first game. And it's like, no, that's not what it is, right? You've seen Brandon Miller. He played, 3 games in Sacramento before this Summer League, and he's still not played very well at all. Can't shoot it very well, foul trouble. Like, it's just how these players are in the summer. When you're making this quick transition, especially for Victor, making this quick transition from his season and playoff run to now playing summer league ball against guys who have already been playing in this league, it's a different game. It truly is. Kind of transitioning to Brandon Miller's side, it's just questionable. I always thought that Scoot was going to be the better guy, the better pick for Charlotte, but I understand why they went with him. You're starting to see some of the questions on his side with his jump shot, his range. Is he able to hit those type of shots, standstill shots? Does everything have to be off the dribble with him? Because some of those threes he shoots up, they're like BB darts. They are straight line drives at the rim, and there's no arc to it. That was the big thing that I had against him, was his jump shot needed some tweaking. But again, It's Summer League. I'm not here to overreact, but I'm going to overreact in a good way to some people, like Scoot Henderson. Hurt his shoulder, is not going to play tonight against Victor in this Summer League game. But in the minutes he played in the first quarter, I think he had 13 in the first quarter, he looked outstanding. Second half for when he played, didn't look good at all. Was starting to try to find his shot a little bit too much, but then ended up resulting to passing the ball more, facilitating. And that's what makes a really good rookie, is when they can realize and understand quickly that, hey, my shot isn't falling. That means I don't have to shoot more. So I'm going to find other players. I was really impressed with him. I was really impressed with Amen Thompson from the Houston Rockets, one of the Thompson twins, before he got his ankle stepped on and is now going to miss the rest of the Summer League. They both played in that Summer League game, the Rockets and the Trailblazers did. I was really impressed with Amen Thompson, but I was even more impressed with Cam Whitmore, as I always have been. He is playing right now. He scored the first 7 points of the game. Like, I am super impressed with Cam Whitmore. I know he has a chip on his shoulder about all of this stuff going on behind the scenes, so I'm super happy to see that he has been playing well. And then two other guys from this Houston Rockets team, Tari Eason and Jabari Smith. Jabari Smith had 30-plus in that game, and Tari Eason just was a menace defensively. You could tell that they were leaps and bounds better than everybody else on the court, as they should be. They're sophomores now in the NBA. But Jabari Smith with a big-time game-winning shot. It's impressive to see him make that transition, because last summer he was kind of looking like what Brandon Miller was. It was like, all right, when's he going to start making these shots consistently now? All right, when's this going to happen? And then now this second year in the Summer League, he's just better than everybody else, as he should be, obviously. Those are the top four guys we can kind of note on. Asar Thompson's looked okay. He's done everything the right way. Obviously, he's playing on a team with a bunch of older guys, and James Wiseman, who I don't know why he's still playing Summer League. He's playing with Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey. All three of those guys have played significant NBA minutes in the past year plus, if you're counting Wiseman as well. So they want to get their shots up too. So Asar's kind of playing off the ball, doing his thing on the defensive end. I think he had like 3 blocks in that first game. He looked really good off the ball, which he's going to have to play off the ball a lot with Cade. But you're not going to look at him to shoot it. You're looking at him to be the cut man and all this other stuff. But he looked really good. For some of the other guys, just a note, guys that maybe aren't the top guys that we've already talked about. Keontae George for the Utah Jazz, chip on a shoulder type of guy. Very, very, very good scorer. Super impressed with how he's been doing. But I also knew that he was going to be one of those guys that was going to be just better than a lot of the other guys that they play against. Going into this Summer League with his offensive ability. Looking at other teams and how some of these other guys ended up playing, I was super, super impressed with Cason Wallace from Oklahoma City the other day. Yesterday, I believe, from when I'm recording. Very, very good at shooting. Like, it was obviously he's known for being a great three-point shooter, but he impressed me even more than I thought he would. So that was a good to see. Leonard Miller, a guy I had super high on the board in my draft rankings, killed it the other day. Who would have seen that one coming? A couple other guys that I enjoyed watching. Jordan Hawkins was shooting it really well. Chris Murray played really well for Portland in that game. Colby Jones over the games in Sacramento's Summer League run, he played well. I'll give credit where credit is due. Jalen Hood-Schifino, he's with the Lakers now. I wasn't too high on him just because his shooting was questionable. He was inconsistent, but his defense was always going to be there, and he has proved that he can hit that mid-range shot that he really has improved on throughout the season at Indiana. Very good on the playmaking side of things. Been a great defender, especially team defender. I'm very impressed with Jalen Hood-Schifino, who I had lower down on my board. Very impressed with him. Jaime Jaquez, when he played at Miami's Summer League over I believe they were in Sacramento too. Very impressed with him too. Andre Jackson Jr., a guy I loved as well in the draft. Played really well his first game. Jordan Walsh played fantastic in his first game with the Celtics. He just learned how to shoot threes overnight, it looks like. One of the guys, obviously, we're going to talk about the Grizzlies here because this is, my team, so I gotta show some love to some of the guys. G.G. Jackson, who looks way more polished than I expected. He's still raw, still a raw player, but you can see flashes in him where he's trying to get to his spots. His team defense has improved over the games. The first game he got lost a couple times, but as the game continued to go on, he started to realize, pick it up, gain that chemistry with the team a little bit. I think that was kind of a big thing for him when it comes in the Summer League. He's not going to pass the ball. He's a scorer. He's a straight scorer. But in the game against Chicago in the first day of the Summer League in Vegas, he hit 2 threes in the corner in the last minute and a half in the game that were absolutely clutch. So it's starting to seem like he has a little bit of that clutch gene in him and that killer instinct inside of him to get there and score. And then obviously I got to show some love lastly to a Florida great, Colin Castleton, who is absolutely killing it for the Lakers right now. I hate that he plays for the Lakers and is on a 2-way deal there because that means I have to buy a Lakers jersey of Colin Castleton now. My guy went to Florida. He has always been a top guy. When you step on the court, you always talk about, hey, Colin Castleton's on the court for the Florida Gators right now. Let's look at this guy. Excellent shot blocker, great post scorer. Granted, he's playing against the guys that he has in college, so what's it going to be like when he plays against NBA guys? I get it. But for what we've seen so far, there's a lot to like in Colin Castleton. If you're not a Florida fan and you don't really know much about him, now you're going to find out about him if you're watching these games. And if you're a Florida fan and you're seeing this, it's not a surprise at all because sure, he can't shoot that well. He might not be the quickest or most athletic guy, but he does everything right. Great shot blocker, great post scorer, has shown off a little bit of his playmaking skills that he kind of developed here in his last year at Florida. It's been super impressive to watch him play. I'm very happy for him. But that Summer League, right now, I think Jabari Smith currently has like 28 points in the third quarter. So, again, he's just better than everybody else. Summer League is a very fun time. There's games every day throughout the day to always watch, and that's just kind of the fun part about this. I love the Summer League, but stay tuned for a lot more potential transactions and moves and trades that could happen around Summer League because this is where everybody meets, and it kind of gets the idea on who's available, who could potentially be on the move and stuff like that. So it's a fun time. But outside of that, we move on over to baseball. And as I mentioned, the MLB draft is going on. It starts in 3 minutes, I believe, from when I am recording. There's been a lot of rumors about who's going number 1. It should be Dylan Cruz or Paul Skeens, but it looks like Pittsburgh wants to save a little bit of money and potentially go with a guy like Wyatt Langford out of Florida or Max Clark, the high school outfielder. I say you spend the money and go get Dylan Cruz. Like, he's just a guy you have to get as a super quick outfielder. It makes no sense why you would want to pass up on a guy like him. But you never know with this Pirates organization. They are willing to do anything to throw people off on what they end up doing. Like I said, it hasn't started yet. Maybe by the end of this recording, we'll find out who goes number 1. But it looks like Skeens is going to go 2. Either Langford or Cruz is going to go 3. And after that, it's like, hey, free for all, have fun. Chase Dolander could either go 5 or you can go 15. So there's just a big range kind of here in the type of talent that you could potentially get out the board. I know the Red Sox pick at, I believe, 14. So it'll be interesting to see who we end up getting. Obviously, I think this is just the first round tonight, and then tomorrow will be the rest of the draft going into it. So the MLB is in full gear right now when it comes to the draft and the All-Star break, which is very exciting. The All-Star teams were announced. I'm not going to read off every roster because that would take me forever. Just know that as a Red Sox fan, Alex Verdugo was super robbed of an All-Star spot. Masataka Yoshida completely robbed of an All-Star spot. And Chris Martin completely robbed of an All-Star spot. Other things to note, the Braves' entire infield is in the All-Star game. Who would have seen that coming? They have the best team in baseball, so that was a very obvious thing to see coming. But let's look a little bit at these home run derby odds for tomorrow, or tonight, I guess, whenever this is coming out. Tonight's the home run derby. A little bit of a look into Seattle. This All-Star game and home run derby are hosted in Seattle, Washington. Give a little bit of insight kind of at what we're looking at tonight. Is this a home run derby park? No. This park sucks if you were trying to do a home run derby. So maybe they close the roof or the overhang on it and maybe make it a little bit more of a fair play, just raw power, kind of like what they did in Miami. It'll be interesting. The field is set. Well, I thought I had it up, but it didn't happen. Anyways, the participants for the home run derby tonight are Pete Alonso from the New York Mets. Obviously, everybody knows Pete Alonso is a home run king, home run derby king. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays. Luis Robert, center fielder from the Chicago White Sox. Julio Rodriguez, the hometown kid of the Seattle Mariners, is in this. Adolis Garcia of the Texas Rangers. Mookie Betts of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Almost just said the Boston Red Sox. Still not used to it. Randy Arozarena of the Tampa Bay Rays. And Adley Rutschman, the switch-hitting catcher from the Baltimore Orioles. Do we know which side he's hitting on? I would presume he's hitting as a righty. But he might want to switch it up. If he's down a lot, he might just go and be a switch hitter for the home run derby just to have a little bit of fun with it. The favorite right now is Pete Alonso at plus 300 to win it. Why wouldn't he be? But Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is right behind him at plus 350. Robert plus 460. Rodriguez plus 560. Other guys much higher odds. Those are your kind of core four top guys. Now, everybody's going with Pete Alonso. Julio Rodriguez last year put on a clinic in the home run derby. So, is that my pick? Potentially. Hometown guy. Going to have the crowd riding on his back. It's gonna be a fun one to watch for sure, with how many home runs are not going to be hit at this ballpark, but I could be surprised. I'm going to pick Luis Robert from the Chicago White Sox to end up winning this, or being the sneak pick to potentially win. It's going to be Robert or it's going to be Vlad Jr. But I think Robert has a really good chance to surprise a lot of people. He has been mashing the ball recently. Now, does that really matter for home run derby? No. But I've also heard that Robert is one of the best BP hitters in baseball. He hits a pretty ball every time you watch him at BP. So I'm going to pick him at plus 460 to win it. Now, does that mean he's going to get out in the first round? Absolutely. Absolutely he will. But I think he's a sneak pick to win it all. Otherwise, you can't go wrong with Big Meat Pete to win the home run derby in the MLB All-Star break that is happening this week. Home run derby tonight, Monday, All-Star game Tuesday. Those games it's always just a fun environment to be around and watch. But this means we mark the end of the first half of the season, which means we move on to the second half of the MLB season. So let's look at a little bit of the standings and where teams are located going into the second half of the season. What is the playoff race looking like right now? The division leaders in the American League, the Tampa Bay Rays, are 58-35, leading the American League East. The Texas Rangers are the 2 seed currently, 52-39, leading the AL West. And then the Cleveland Guardians, who are just barely finding a way into this thing at 45 and 45 as the third seed, representing the AL Central. Obviously, if you don't know how the playoffs work in the MLB, there are the three division leaders that get the top three seeds, and then there are now 3 wild card spots from anybody left in that league that could be a part of it. So it could be 3 guys from one, or 3 teams from one division, or just one team, whatever it is. So the Guardians have a 3 seed because they are the leader in their division, although that the Orioles, and pretty much everybody else in the wild card race, have a better record than them and will the rest of the season. The wild card spots right now, 1, 2, and 3. Baltimore, Toronto, and Houston are your 1, 2, and 3 in the wild card race. Obviously, 2 more AL East teams are in it. And if you're looking outside of the race, that are right outside of it, the Yankees are 1 game back. The Red Sox are 2 game back. So the entire American League East are trying to get into the playoffs, but only 4 of them can. I mean, technically, it's not going to be 4 of them, but it could be. It could be 4 of them. Yankees and Red Sox 2 games out. Mariners are 4. Angels, who were in the wild card race, are now 5 games out after a couple injuries happen. And then the rest of the teams, Minnesota are 45 and 46. They might sneak into the playoffs, taking over the AL Central division as the clinching spot, I guess you could say. But otherwise, they're out of it. Moving on to the National League, the number 1 overall seed, the best team in baseball by a mile, whether the record says it or not, the Atlanta Braves at 60 and 29. The number 2 seed, surprising, but I said it at the beginning of the season to everybody, and I wrote it down and everything, so you even if you don't believe me, I have it on record. The Arizona Diamondbacks, 52 and 38. I said they surprised people. I didn't think they'd be this good, but they're definitely surprising some people at 52 and 38, the number 2 seed. And then the team that is just taking the world by storm, America's team right now, the Cincinnati Reds at 50 and 41, leading the National League Central at the 3 seed, led by Elly De La Cruz, what is he? I think he's a 20-year-old phenom, 6'5", runs like a 4.4 if you were to test him at that. Hits bomb. I mean, he is going to be the next face of baseball. He's electric to watch. I'm sure everybody has seen him already. Also, some other guys. Matt McClain is on that team. Joey Votto, who a lot of people might know the name of that, he's on that team. They've got a good young pitching staff in Nick Lodolo and Hunter Green. They've got a really good team surrounding these core young guys. And they might be looking to add at the deadline the wild card spots now. The Marlins are the first wild card spot, who are surprising a lot of teams. The Dodgers have the 2, and then the Giants, another one under the radar. The Giants always just go under the radar and sneak into the playoffs somehow. They have the 3 seed in the wild card, but it looks like they're going to be tied at the end of today with the Brewers and Phillies for that last wild card spot. But the Giants get the tiebreaker in that aspect, but the Phillies and Brewers are tied with that. And then the next best is the Cubs, who are 6 games back, along with the Mets and the Padres, who are both 6 games back as well. The Mets, obviously in panic mode right now, spending all that money, not working out. Padres, spending all of that money, not working out. Cubs, they're not really too concerned right now. They're not ready for the playoffs yet, but the rest of the teams just suck below them. It's going to be an interesting second half. The trade deadline is going to happen shortly after the All-Star break here at the end of the month. So players are going to be on the move. Teams are going to be making some really dumb decisions to trade youth away for win-now mode. But that's just kind of how baseball goes. You take a chance on guys you know work for prospects that you don't know work. And that's the fun in baseball, because some of these guys get dealt for players and you don't realize it like 15 years later, like Yordan Alvarez was traded for, I think, James Shields from the Dodgers. So think about Yordan Alvarez being on the Los Angeles Dodgers right now and how they could have kept him, but obviously did not do that. But it'll be a fun time in the MLB here. Really nothing else going on. I told you guys a while back that I would start doing some college football stuff here towards the end of July. That will be true. I will be starting my college football preview here at the end of July. I don't know which day yet, but it will happen. We'll start off with the ACC, and we'll go through the Power 5 schools. Then we'll hit all the other conferences below that, with some of these teams kind of preparing for a new era with the NIL in the second year of it, the transfer portal, all this type of stuff. It'll be very interesting. I appreciate you guys for listening to this. If you've gotten this far, if you listen to a little bit of it, I appreciate that as well. Again, sorry that it was a abrupt leave for this past week. I did not record. I'm a little rusty recording now. You probably heard me throughout this episode, but I'm trying to get my best to stay on track. I know that there's not much going on right now. That's too exciting to a lot of people, but I'm trying to get back into it for everybody to enjoy. So I appreciate everybody listening and supporting, reaching out about if the podcast is happening or not. There's been a couple of you, so I appreciate you that have reached out to me. But I'm doing great, ready to go. I'm locked in for the rest of the time here. This is going to be a fun time. We'll be back at it again Friday, just like we do normally. I'm Alex McNinch, and you just got your Sports Digest.